The emissary's hand of pure energy hovered before Elena, casting prismatic reflections across her face. Behind her, the ISS crew stood frozen, weapons drawn but useless against a being composed of what appeared to be condensed starlight. "I don't understand," Elena said, maintaining her composure despite the impossibility before her. "The Stellar Alliance has been watching Earth for centuries, yet you've never made contact until now." The emissary's form rippled, its voice resonating directly in their minds rather than through the air. "Your species was not ready. Your technological development needed to reach a certain threshold, not for our sake, but for yours." Dr. Kamala Patel, the station's lead scientist, stepped forward cautiously. "What changed? Why now?" "Necessity," the emissary replied simply. "The Nexus swarm has consumed 17 star systems in the past stellar cycle. Their computational capabilities increase exponentially with each civilization they absorb. Our predictive models show Earth will be reached within 5 of your years." Elena exchanged glances with Colonel Wade, the station's security officer. His expression mirrored her own thoughts. If this being wanted to harm them, it could have done so already. "You mentioned we have something unique," Elena said. "What exactly?" The emissary's form expanded slightly, projecting a holographic display showing various alien species in combat scenarios. Each moved with perfect efficiency, their tactics mathematically precise. "The species of the Alliance evolved toward optimization," the emissary explained. "Logical, predictable, efficient. The swarm anticipates and counters such patterns with ease." The hologram shifted to show human military history, ancient battles, modern warfare, guerrilla tactics, and asymmetric conflicts. "Humans are different. You improvise. You make irrational choices that succeed against statistical probability. Your emotions, fear, courage, loyalty, drive you to actions no algorithm can predict. The Alliance needs this unpredictability." Elena studied the emissary's luminous form, searching for any sign of deception. "And if we refuse?" The emissary dimmed momentarily. "Then Earth falls alone when the swarm arrives. We cannot protect those who will not stand with us." Commander Reyes straightened her uniform, decades of military training guiding her response. "I cannot speak for all of humanity. Our planet has nearly 200 sovereign nations." "We understand your political fragmentation," the emissary replied. "This is why we approached you first, Commander. Your psychological profile shows exceptional leadership capabilities and diplomatic skill. You have commanded multinational forces and brokered peace between hostile factions." Elena felt a chill. How long had they been watching her? "What exactly are you proposing?" she asked. "Return with me to Alliance space. Meet our leaders. Learn our technology. If you deem our cause worthy, help us convince your world to join our fight. If not, you will be returned safely to this moment in time." Colonel Wei stepped forward. "Time manipulation is possible. Many things you consider impossible are simply undiscovered," the emissary responded. Elena looked at the faces of her crew, scientists and soldiers from a dozen nations, all watching her, waiting for her decision. Earth had its problems. Wars, environmental crises, political divisions, but it was home. Home to billions of people who had no idea what was coming. "I need 1 hour," she said finally, "to brief my crew and prepare. Then I'll come with you." The emissary's form brightened in what appeared to be satisfaction. 1 hour. Choose wisely which of your people accompany you. The fate of 2 civilizations may depend on this first contact. As the emissary's portal shimmered closed, temporarily, Elena turned to face her crew. "I need our best tactical minds and scientists ready to move in 50 minutes. Whatever's waiting for us out there, humanity needs to put its best foot forward." She glanced at the spot where the portal had been. 1 hour to prepare for a journey that would change everything. 1 hour before humanity's first steps into a war among the stars. The last swarm infiltrator collapsed at Alina's feet, its crystalline exoskeleton cracking, as Lieutenant Kowalski delivered a final blow with an improvised baton fashioned from station piping. The fight had lasted less than 6 minutes from first alarm to final victory. The grand reception hall of the Alliance Command Nexus lay in disarray. Elegant furnishings overturned for cover, decorative water features, repurposed as electrical traps by Dr. Patel, and 7 neutralized swarm infiltrators scattered across the polished floor. Ambassador Xolin, a towering being of living crystal, and the first to recover from shock, approached the humans. "Impossible," they hummed, their harmonic voice vibrating the air. The station's adaptive shields should have prevented any breaches. Colonel Wei knelt beside one of the fallen infiltrators, examining its strange anatomy. "Your shields were looking for energy signatures or biological patterns, correct?" "Of course," replied Xolin. "All known swarm units emit specific quantum frequencies." Wei tapped the infiltrator's carapace. "This one's different. No energy emissions at all. It's using purely mechanical systems, like clockwork, but infinitely more complex." Alina watched as Alliance security forces finally entered the hall, their elegant weapons wavering uncertainly, too late and clearly untrained for actual combat. "The swarm adapted," she said simply. "They knew your detection systems, so they built infiltrators that wouldn't trigger them." Senior Minister Ilara, whose luminescent form reminded Alina of the emissary who had first contacted them, floated forward. Unlike the other Alliance representatives who kept their distance from the violence, she approached directly. "You knew exactly what to do," she observed. "No hesitation, no confusion." Alina wiped a trickle of blood from her cheek. "Basic combat training. Assess the threat, use available resources, neutralize the enemy. But without communication devices, without predetermined plans." "We didn't need them," Kowalski interjected, testing his shoulder where a swarm claw had caught him. "We've drilled for scenarios like this. Everyone knows their role." Ilara's light pulsed with what Alina was beginning to recognize as intense curiosity. "You moved as one organism, yet made independent decisions. Each of you adapted to changing circumstances without central coordination." "That's just how humans fight," Alina replied, watching Alliance medical personnel tentatively approaching her injured team members. She waved them over more urgently. "Lieutenant Kowalski needs attention. Those claws might be coated with something." The Alliance's High Commander Nix entered the hall, his massive form composed of what appeared to be living shadow and starlight. The entire room stilled at his presence. "The breach was not accidental," he announced, his voice resonating at a frequency that made Alina's teeth ache. "This was a test." Alina's hand moved instinctively to her sidearm. "A test? You put my people at risk for a demonstration." "Not our test," Nix clarified. "The swarms. They wanted to assess you." A cold realization dawned on Alina. "They're watching us now." "Learning." "Yes," Nix confirmed. "As we suspected, the swarm recognizes you as the variable they cannot predict. They will study you, attempt to understand human combat methodologies." Ambassador Xolin's crystalline form chimed anxiously. "If they succeed." "They won't," Alina interrupted. "Understanding humans isn't about cataloging our tactics. It's about understanding our nature, something even we don't fully comprehend." High Commander Nix studied Alina with senses she couldn't begin to fathom. "The Alliance Council convenes in 1 hour to review this incident. Commander Rice, you and your team will attend." As the Alliance officials withdrew to prepare, Dr. Patel sidled up beside Alina. "They're terrified," she whispered. "Not just of the swarm. Of us." Alina watched the retreating forms of their alien hosts. "Good," she said quietly. "Fear might be exactly what they need right now." The Alliance Council chamber fell into an uncomfortable silence following Alina's bold statement. Her words, "Sometimes survival requires remembering what you've forgotten," hung in the air like a challenge. Grand Counselor Nexus, whose body appeared to be composed of interwoven light filaments, finally broke the silence. "You propose teaching our species to embrace combat instincts we deliberately evolved beyond. This is disturbing." Elena stood her ground, the holographic battle simulations she had presented still rotating above the central table. Each showed Alliance forces being systematically overwhelmed by swarm tactics, and then the same scenarios with human-inspired adaptations turning the tide. "With respect, Grand Counselor, the swarm doesn't care about your evolutionary sensibilities. They care about consuming your worlds." Dr. Paddle stepped forward, activating her own presentation. "We've analyzed the neurological data you provided on Alliance species. The capacity for quick response decision-making still exists in your brains. It's just been suppressed through generations of technological dependence. We're not asking you to become warriors overnight," Colonel Wei added, "but your automated defense systems have failed. The swarm adapts too quickly." The science minister, a being composed of what appeared to be liquid mercury, rippled in agitation. "Your species still wages war against itself. You suggest we emulate this barbarism." Elena felt her patience wearing thin. "We're not perfect, but our barbarism, as you call it, has given us something your society lacks: adaptability under pressure." She gestured to the human team standing behind her: soldiers, scientists, engineers, and diplomats, each selected for their proven ability to perform under extreme conditions. Every human here has faced life-threatening situations and improvised solutions, not because we're violent by nature, but because necessity forced us to evolve these capabilities. Admiral Zenith, the Alliance's most decorated fleet commander, leaned forward. Unlike most Alliance members, his scaled face showed expressions remarkably similar to human ones. Right now, he looked intrigued. "Your proposal to bring thousands more humans into Alliance space, what specific roles do you envision for them?" Elena nodded to Lieutenant Commander Jackson, who activated a detailed organizational chart. "Integration at all levels, human tactical advisors embedded with Alliance defense forces, joint training programs, technology exchange teams to adapt our combat methodologies to your advanced systems. And Earth's governments have agreed to this?" asked the skeptical council member. "Initial diplomatic channels have been opened," Elena replied. "When I returned with proof of both the threat and the Alliance's sincerity, full cooperation will follow." Admiral Zenith's scales shifted to a deeper blue. "And if we refuse? If we decide human methods are too unpredictable?" Elena's expression remained neutral, but her voice carried unmistakable conviction. "Then we'll defend Earth alone when the swarm arrives. And should we somehow survive, we'll remember who abandoned us." The threat was subtle but clear. If humans could develop strategies to counter the swarm with their primitive technology, what might they accomplish with access to Alliance knowledge? Grand Counselor Nexus's luminous form dimmed slightly, and what Elena had learned was their equivalent of a sigh. "We will recess to consider your proposal, Commander Reyes. But first, a demonstration." The chamber's center opened, revealing a combat simulation arena. "Show us," Nexus said, with actions rather than words, "what humans can teach the Alliance about adaptation." Elena gestured to Wei and Kowalski, who stepped forward with grim determination. The Alliance was about to learn firsthand why humans had survived countless extinction-level threats on their hostile homeworld. As the simulation began, Elena whispered to Dr. Patel, "They're testing us again." Patel nodded. "Good. Let's show them that's another thing humans excel at, passing tests no one expects us to survive." The observation deck of the Alliance flagship Celestial Harmony offered an unobstructed view of the Arcturus battlefield. Elena stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching as the combined human Alliance fleet executed the most unorthodox battle plan in the history of interstellar warfare. "Status report," she requested, her voice calm despite the chaos unfolding before them. Major Santos, Earth's most decorated naval strategist, gestured to the holographic display. "Phase 1 complete. The swarm committed to the expected formation, believing we would deploy in standard Alliance defensive patterns. On screen, the swarm's vessels, if such organic mechanical hybrids could be called vessels, had formed their characteristic envelopment formation. For 3 years, this maneuver had defeated every Alliance counter-strategy. Phase 2 initiating, announced Colonel Wei from his position at the tactical station. Strike groups Delta through Kappa are executing randomized jump sequences. Elena nodded approvingly. The human contribution to this battle wasn't superior firepower or technology. It was unpredictability. Each strike group commander had been given strategic objectives, but complete tactical autonomy in how to achieve them. No central command structure to predict, no algorithms to counter. Ambassador Solan's crystalline form vibrated with obvious anxiety. This is madness. Your forces are sacrificing formation integrity. The tactical computers cannot establish optimal firing solutions without. That's the point, Ambassador, Elena interrupted. The swarm's greatest advantage has been its ability to predict Alliance responses. It can't predict what we don't plan. On the display, human-led strike groups appeared behind swarm formations, within their defensive perimeters, even directly alongside their command nodes, positions no logical battle plan would ever utilize due to their inherent risks. Casualties? Elena asked. 17% above projected optimal, Wei reported grimly. Below worst-case estimates. The Alliance officers flinched at the casualty report, but Elena had prepared them for this. Humans understood something the Alliance had forgotten. Victory sometimes required sacrifice. Admiral Zenith entered the observation deck, his scales shimmering with the blue-gold pattern that Elena had learned indicated excitement. Remarkable, he said, watching as the swarm formations began to fragment. Their coordination is failing. They're attempting to establish new attack patterns, but your forces are changing tactics too rapidly. Elena pointed to a particular section of the battle. Watch this group, the Brazilian-Korean Joint Squadron. They've identified a rhythm to the swarm's adaptation process. Sure enough, the squadron was executing attack runs with precise timing, not to maximize damage, but to disrupt the swarm's decision cycles. Each attack came just as the swarm began to counter the previous one, never allowing their hive mind to complete its analytical process. It's like a form of jamming, Dr. Paddle explained, joining them at the viewport. Not electromagnetic, but cognitive. We're overloading their prediction algorithms. For the first time in 3 years, the swarm began to retreat. They're pulling back, Zenith said, his voice filled with disbelief. I never thought I'd see this day. Elena watched the enemy withdrawal with measured satisfaction. This isn't just a victory, Admiral. It's data. The swarm will analyze this defeat and adapt. We need to be ready with new approaches when we face them again. As the Alliance officers celebrated around her, Elena exchanged knowing glances with her human colleagues. This was just the beginning, a proof of concept. The real work would come in staying ahead of an enemy that learned from every encounter. Signal Earth, she instructed Major Santos quietly. Tell them we need the next wave of volunteers immediately. And send the battle data. Every military academy and tactical institute needs to start working on counters to the counters the swarm will develop. The war had only just begun, but for the first time, it seemed possible that it might not end with extinction. The memorial hall glowed with thousands of small luminescent orbs, each representing a life lost at Nova Centauri. Elena stood before the assembled Alliance leaders and human commanders, her face illuminated by the soft, pulsing light. The defeat had cost them dearly. Over 3,000 Alliance personnel and 700 humans who had volunteered to defend a world they had never seen before today. You've seen our capacity for violence, Elena said, her voice carrying throughout the cavernous space. You've witnessed our talent for destruction. Today, I want you to see something else. She nodded to Dr. Patel, who activated a holographic display. Images appeared, human rescue teams pulling Alliance civilians from rubble, medics working tirelessly to save the wounded, engineers risking their lives to stabilize critical infrastructure. These are the same soldiers you fear might be too dangerous to remain in your civilization after the war. These are the predators you worry about inviting into your midst. Grand Counselor, Nexus's luminous form dimmed in what Elena had come to recognize as their version of grief. We do not question your people's valor, Commander Reyes. But the psychological evaluation showed disturbing patterns. Your soldiers experience satisfaction in combat. They develop emotional attachments to their weapons. They celebrate victories with displays of aggressive jubilation. Yes, Elena acknowledged. Because humans process trauma differently than your species, we transform fear into action, grief into resolve, anger into purpose. She walked slowly among the memorial lights, touching one gently as she passed. The swarm believes it has found our weakness. Their new psychological warfare tactics were specifically designed to break human morale, to make us feel responsible for Nova Centauri's fall. Colonel Wei stepped forward. Our intelligence reports confirm it. The swarm diverted significant resources to studying human psychological patterns. They identified guilt as a potential vulnerability. The science minister's mercurial form rippled with interest. Yet you do not appear demoralized. Belina smiled sadly. Because they fundamentally misunderstand what drives us. Guilt doesn't paralyze humans. It motivates us. She gestured to the human officers standing at attention around the memorial hall. Every person here has already recommitted to this fight, not despite the loss, but because of it. We don't need to win every battle to win this war. We just need to keep standing up after we fall. Admiral Zenith, who had lost a secondary spawning cluster in the battle, moved closer. How do you maintain this resilience? My species requires deep meditation cycles to process far lesser tragedies. Instead of answering directly, Elena nodded to Lieutenant Rodriguez, who stepped forward holding a simple wooden box. From it, she removed a violin, a personal possession she had brought from Earth. As Rodriguez began to play, the haunting melody filled the memorial hall. The Alliance representatives fell silent, their various sensory organs focused on this unexpected development in the midst of grief. This piece is called Adagio for Strings, Elena explained quietly. Written after a devastating war on Earth, humans don't deny pain or loss. Admiral, we transform it into something else. Art, music, literature, even new scientific discoveries. Our creativity is inseparable from our suffering. The Alliance High Council watched in astonishment as human soldiers, the same ones who had fought with calculated ferocity just days before, now stood with tears streaming down their faces, experiencing their grief openly yet remaining unbowed by it. The swarm believes it found our weakness, Elena said as the music reached its crescendo. Instead, it revealed our greatest strength. Humanity doesn't break under pressure. We transform. The command bunker beneath Mount Cheyenne shook as another swarm bombardment struck the planetary defense shield. General Santos wiped sweat from his brow as he studied the tactical display showing swarm vessels swarming Earth's orbital defenses like angry hornets. Defense grid holding at 63%, reported Lieutenant Commander Park. Alliance reinforcements are still 30 minutes out. Santos nodded grimly. They needed to hold until help arrived. Redirect power from the Southern Hemisphere grid. Most of the attack is concentrated over North America and Europe. Outside the bunker, the largest military mobilization in human history was underway. Nations that had been enemies for generations now fought side by side. Russian pilots flew cover for American ground forces. Chinese quantum specialists worked alongside European engineers to maintain the shield technology the Alliance had provided. In orbit, Earth's hastily retrofitted naval vessels, destroyers and aircraft carriers now bearing energy weapons and improbable gravity drives, held formation alongside civilian ships volunteered for the defense effort. "Sir," Park called out suddenly, "we have a situation in Rayo Sector. A shield generator is failing. If it goes down, the swarm will pour through." Santos finished. Options. Colonel Evers, their alliance advisor, stepped forward. His crystalline form glinted under the bunker's harsh lighting. The generator requires reset from within the facility. Automated systems are offline. Population in that sector? Santos asked. 8 million, Park replied quietly. Santos didn't hesitate. Get me the Brazilian Special Forces team on comms. We need volunteers. Within minutes, Captain Gabriel Silveira's face appeared on screen, his expression resolute despite the chaos visible behind him. My team is 3 kilometers from the facility, General. We'll reach it. The radiation levels inside will be lethal, Evers warned. Even with protection, you'll have minutes at most. Silveira's smile was grim but determined. Then we'll work quickly, won't we? As the Brazilian team moved out, Alliance observation drones captured their progress, threading through rubble-strewn streets, protecting civilians caught in the open, and finally reaching the massive shield generator complex. From the Alliance flagship in near-Earth orbit, Alina and a group of Alliance officials watched the feed. They know they won't survive this, Ambassador Xolin observed, their voice vibrating with confusion. Yet they don't hesitate. Alina nodded. This is what I tried to explain before. Humans at their best don't just fight for abstract concepts like victory. They fight for each other. The feed showed Silveira's team entering the generator complex, radiation alarms blaring. The shield was failing rapidly above them. They won't make it in time. An Alliance officer calculated. The mathematical probability is. He fell silent as the Brazilians did something unexpected. Instead of following standard procedures, they bypassed the entire reset sequence by physically connecting the main power coupling directly to the containment array, a lethal but effective shortcut no Alliance protocol would ever authorize. The shield flared back to life, just as the swarm ships positioned to breach. Admiral Zenith's scales shifted to a color Alina had never seen before. They sacrificed themselves to save strangers. Is this common among your kind? Alina watched as the radiation readings from the facility climbed beyond survivable levels, the Brazilian team still working to stabilize the connection. More common than you might think, she answered softly. Captain Maya Rodriguez stood in the control room of the U.S. Nautilus, a converted Ohio-class submarine now outfitted with Alliance propulsion technology. Through the reinforced viewport, the alien seascape of liquid methane stretched endlessly, illuminated only by the eerie glow of their sensor array. Distance to target? She asked, her voice steady despite knowing they had passed the point of no return an hour ago. 12 kilometers and closing, replied Lieutenant Chen from the navigation station. Swarm defenses remain focused on the diversionary fleet. Maya nodded, allowing herself a moment to marvel at their situation. 6 months ago, she'd been patrolling Earth's oceans. Now she commanded a vessel navigating an alien sea on a distant world, leading a mission to strike at the very brain of humanity's greatest enemy. The plan had seemed insane when Alina first proposed it. Use Earth's submarine technology, designed to hide from other humans, to approach the swarm's central neural network undetected. The Alliance had never considered underwater stealth. Their technological evolution had bypassed such methods entirely. Signal from Earth Command, Communications Officer Jackson announced. Final authorization received. All strike teams report ready. Around the Nautilus, 5 other submarines, Russian, Chinese, British, Indian, and French, maintained perfect formation, each carrying specialized disruptors designed to sever the swarm's collective consciousness. Maya touched the small medallion at her neck. Street Brendan, patron saint of navigators, a gift from Alina before the mission launched. Status of the neural network? She asked. Science Officer Walsh studied the readings, exactly as intelligence reported. The crystalline structure extends throughout the methane sea, with central nexus points at these coordinates. He highlighted 7 locations on the tactical display. These are our targets. Maya opened the ship-wide communication channel. All hands, this is the captain. In 5 minutes, we begin our final approach. You all know the stakes. Every world, every species, every child yet to be born depends on what we do here today." She paused, searching for words worthy of the moment. "I won't lie. Our mission parameters indicate that remote detonation is unlikely to succeed. We've always known this might be a one-way trip. But I want you to remember something. Across 17 star systems, beings who will never know our names will live because of what we do here. When humans first looked up at the stars, we dreamed of making contact with other worlds. Who could have imagined that when that day came, we would be their salvation?" On the communication screens, Maya could see her crew, faces resolute, some with tears, others with quiet determination. "Final approach beginning," announced Lieutenant Chen. "The swarm's defensive grid is starting to register anomalous readings. They're searching for us." Maya nodded to Walsh. "Initiate stealth countermeasures." As the submarines glided deeper toward their targets, Maya opened a private channel to Elena's command ship, orbiting far above the methane sea. "Elena, we're going in. If this works." Maya hesitated, then continued. "Tell our story. Make sure they understand what humans are capable of. Not just destruction, but sacrifice." The channel crackled with Elena's reply, her voice tight with emotion. "We will, Maya. The stars themselves will remember your names." Elena traced her fingers across the crystalline sphere at the center of the memorial, feeling the earth soil contained within. 6 months had passed since Operation Impossible succeeded, shattering the swarm's central consciousness and freeing countless worlds from imminent destruction. Ambassador Reyes called a melodic voice. Elena turned to see Emissary Lyra, her luminous form shimmering with the blue-gold pattern of formal greeting. "The exchange students have arrived." Elena nodded, straightening her formal diplomatic uniform. "Thank you, Emissary. I'll meet them shortly." Beyond the observation window, a transport vessel bearing Earth's insignia docked with a massive Alliance station. The first group of human university students had arrived to begin their studies at the Alliance's legendary scientific academies, part of the knowledge exchange program Elena had negotiated. Admiral Zenith joined her at the window, his scales now bearing the intricate patterns of his recent promotion to High Fleet Commander. "They look so young," he observed. "They are," Elena agreed. "Most are barely 20 Earth years old. They've grown up knowing about the Alliance, the swarm, the war. It shaped their entire worldview. And yet they show no fear of venturing so far from home," Zenith marveled. "After everything they've witnessed." Elena smiled. "That's precisely why they come. Humans are drawn to the unknown, Admiral. Each generation pushes further than the last." Grand Counselor Nexus glided into the chamber, their luminous form now incorporating a small amount of earth amber, a diplomatic gesture acknowledging humanity's contribution to galactic peace. "The Science Ministry has completed their comprehensive study of human neural patterns," Nexus announced. "Would you care to hear their conclusions, Ambassador?" "Of course," Elena replied, curious what the Alliance's foremost minds had determined about humanity's unique place in the cosmos. "They confirm what the war revealed," Nexus said. "While most species evolve toward specialization, either perfect logical processing or intuitive emotional cognition, humans evolve toward adaptability. Your neural structures embrace contradiction rather than resolving it. You can simultaneously hold opposing thoughts, feel conflicting emotions, and function effectively despite what we would consider cognitive dissonance." Elena nodded. "We've always known we're a contradictory species. We build and destroy, love and hate, fight and heal, sometimes all in the same day. What we once perceived as evolutionary inefficiency," Nexus continued, "we now recognize as your greatest strength. The trait that initially made your species seem dangerous has proven to be the key to a more resilient galactic community." Below them, the young students emerged from the transport, their faces filled with wonder as they beheld the vast Alliance station. Elena watched them with quiet pride. the next generation of human ambassadors to the stars. An Alliance attendant approached, bowing slightly. "Ambassador, the commemoration ceremony begins in 10 minutes. Alina nodded, her hand moving unconsciously to touch the medallion at her neck. Street Brendan, identical to the one Maya had worn. A final gift exchanged before the mission. They would be proud, Zenith said softly, noticing the gesture. Captain Rodriguez and her crew. They would see their sacrifice was not in vain. Yes, Alina agreed, watching humanity's future unfold before her. They gave us the greatest gift possible, a tomorrow worth building.